I want to just back up just a little bit. Every now and then in this room, we talk about the least of these in our society and what we're doing to help the least of these. When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? When I was thirsty, did you give me a drink? When I was sick and in prison, did you visit me? When I was a stranger in your land, did you welcome me? Matthew 25 says nothing about when I didn't have a place to live, when I was living out of my car, when I was living under a bridge, did you do anything about it? Well, we have an obligation, I think a moral obligation to do something about it. And it's not all on the federal government. It's not on this committee, as you know. It's a shared responsibility with state and federal, locals, nonprofits, and the businesses as well. It's a shared responsibility. We welcome you here today with that spirit in mind. We thank you for joining us to talk about housing affordability. It's on top of mind of my constituents in Delaware, and I'm sure it is in the other 49 states too. But in recent decades, and I come to this hearing as a recovering governor of the state of Delaware for 8 years, and as the issues we first worked on a whole lot when I was governor. Delaware, I think, had, when I stepped down as governor, the highest home ownership rate of any state in the country, something we're very, very proud of. But in recent decades, rapid growth in retail prices and a lack of housing supply have made it difficult for a lot of people to find safe and affordable housing options, as we all know. And this problem is especially dire today as our constituents continue to feel the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and as they face price increases in other parts of the economy. I would note the price of gasoline, thank God, is beginning to come down. And Wawa, we have a lot of Wawa convenience stores up and down the East Coast, and a bunch of them in Delaware. And price of Wawa, the price of gas is, I saw it yesterday, it was down to about, I think, $4.36, which is a drop of almost $0.50 in the last couple of weeks, and we're hoping it'll go a lot lower. But I was proud to work with Senator Chris Coons, my wingman from Delaware, and Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester in securing $78 million to the American Rescue Plan to help tackle the housing crisis in the first state. These funds will leverage private dollars to support the development and rehabilitation of affordable housing units throughout our state in coordination with nonprofits that include Habitat for Humanity, an outfit called Sinair, another one called InCall, and many organizations that are dedicated to addressing this same problem. One issue that deserves our focus is lack of affordable housing for our senior citizens. As our population ages, we must meet the specific needs of our seniors, who often live on fixed incomes and require additional support services. My question, this would be a question for Ms. Bell and a question for Mr. Roberts. All right. The others of you get away scot-free in this question. How can we ensure that tax incentives and other resources meet the unique and growing housing needs of our seniors? Let me say that again. How can we ensure the tax incentives and other resources meet the unique and growing housing needs of our seniors? Ms. Bell.
Well, thank you for that question, Senator. I think you're raising a couple of really important points that really elevate the unique situation that we're in related to supply and demand, and specifically how the issue of supply and demand is causing other issues around lack of access, lack of affordability. I think the reality right now in this moment, as we think about tax incentives and we think about all of the options in front of us, there's a couple of things that are worth elevating, which is one, being able to, lower the threshold when we think about private activity bonds, knowing that there is a real restraint that a lot of communities are feeling around that. When we think about low-income housing tax credit, we know what works. We have seen successes with that. We also know when we think about the lack of affordable housing issue that so many Americans are facing, particularly our aging population, we also know that we have to build affordable housing in all shapes and sizes that we have, and being able to have transit-oriented housing as we think about the needs of our seniors. We have some very real policy options in front of us today that we think will both reduce red tape, both increase access to affordable housing in a really formative way, and be able to build on what has worked and where we have seen the most progress across the country for diverse populations, including our aging population.
Go ahead. Mr. Roberts, briefly, same question. Thank you.
So, excuse me. Thank you, Senator. And I would just mention also that Sinair and NCall are two of our members.
Ah, that's good.
And Habitat, of course, is a big supporter of neighborhood homes. Directly to your question, one of the beauties of the housing credit is it gives states the authority to direct those resources to the greatest needs, including elderly housing. We've seen tremendous low-income housing tax credit properties that provide a lot of services to the elderly in conjunction with the housing, including assisted living, which is extremely hard for low-income elderly people to find.
Good, thanks. Mr. Chairman, my time is expired. Could I just take 15 seconds and I'm going to ask a question for the record. I just want to take a minute, not even a minute, just a moment, just to say what, for Ms. Bell, this is my question. We'll submit it to you for the record. So you don't have to answer to it now, but in writing, yes. Here it is. What resources are most helpful in setting low-income families up for success when buying a home for the first time? And how can we expand access to these tools? I'll ask you that for the record. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you,
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Senator